Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 157. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. How are you doing?
I'm tired. I'm on call this weekend, the entire holiday weekend, including all of Monday.
Lovely.
And I've been so off my game. The weekend has not started well. I woke up at um, I was up. The video I put up Friday, the responses to the tweets I got regarding my Huffington Post appearance. I was up all night editing that. I think I went to bed at 3:45 in the morning. So I woke up in the morning. It was light. I got out of bed. My head was spinning, and I went to the bathroom. And it's really difficult to be neat when your head is spinning and you're half asleep. And I stumble back into my room. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to call into my meetings at work because there's no way I'm driving. And then I looked at the clock and it was only 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, yes, I could go back to sleep for 2 hours. Yay! My shift is 10 to 7, so I get to sleep in. But that extended to this morning too. I don't know what time I got up, but for some reason, I drove to the gym this morning and I missed the freeway, and then I missed my interchange, and then I missed a street I was supposed to turn on, and I get there and I'm like, hi, and she's like, you're early, and I look at the clock, I'm like, by 1 minute, and she goes, it's 9:30. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be here till 10 is what for some reason, I was staring at the clock in my car the entire drive out there, and for some reason my brain was, yep, 9:30 for no good reason is what. It's been one of those for me. But in other news, I have been playing Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. I'm not exactly what. I don't know what exactly is Super Turbo or Championship about it, but I really like the game. It's very fun, very Metroid-y. You get new move. You get moves as you wrestling moves, kind of things, as you go through the game, which double as attacks and movement abilities. So you have this jumping uppercut, which gives you kind of a double jump, but is also a strong uppercut attack and can break through certain blocks. You have this flying kick, which can break through certain blocks as another type of attack, but also extends your jump in a horizontal direction. So the game does a really, really excellent job of marrying fighting and movement abilities in a very cohesive and entertaining way. So the game is actually, if you just front to back it, it's even shorter than Shantae. I think I beat it in like 8 hours, but my completion percentage was only like 55%. So it's one of those games where you run back through the levels looking for all the secret passages and things that you missed. So I think I've got all but one of the major doodads found. So I'm pretty close to completing it. So I think if you want 100% this one, you're looking at, if you don't use the strategy guide, probably around 15 hours. I think I'm at 13 now or something like that. So at 12 or 13, between the two somewhere. Great game, really enjoying it. Still no idea what Super Turbo or Champion about it, but really, really like this game. So Matthew's talking about the WordPress transition for the Game Politics website was a long time coming. Yes, it was, because Drupal's always been a pain in the ass. Matthew's asking about my job requiring me to be on call. It doesn't. My job is a quality assurance analyst. I tell the programmers and hardware peoples that they suck at their jobs, because they give me the stuff they make and I tell them that it's all broken and to fix it. They love me. I am part of the on-call rotation for the technical support helpline. I do that not because it's really part of my job, but I do that just for the overtime to supplement my income. So it's not actually part of my QA responsibilities, but it is something I stay a part of just for the financial padding, so to speak. So, Zachary, playing anything cool?
Um, this week.
No, you've been moving
um,
the site all week.
well, see this week. Okay, started out all right. I started moving the site over and everything. Testing out a few things, some plugins and various things, and then I take a break and I played Reus, Reus. It's a game I bought on a Humble Bundle a couple of years ago, I think, and I finally just now got around to actually playing it. So I got to play that for about an hour, mostly the tutorial levels, and it's an interesting game. It's a world building game where it's just like the world is just a circle. Okay, it's not like it's not a sphere or anything or a flat plane. It's like if you took the Earth and cut it in half and then just looked at it from the side, that's what Rias is, and so you control these giants that have powers over specific terrains. There's this giant crab-looking thing that creates oceans, and a giant tree guy that creates forests, a rock guy that creates mountains, and a little slime mold guy that creates swamps. And so it's a very interesting game. I didn't get to play it too in depth because I forget which day it was, because this week is just kind of all blended together now.
Mhm.
While testing out a few things with game politics, trying to get the conversion right, my hard drive decided to crash. And as far as I can tell, it's completely unrecoverable. I had a hard drive crash a while back, like 5 years ago or something, and I was able to deep freeze my hard drive and then connect it via a external drive case, and I was able to recover a bunch of files off of it that way. And so I tried that trick with my hard drive that crashed, and nope, everything's completely gone. I can't get to anything on there.
Mm.
And so I had an extra hard drive lying around, but it's only a 120 gig hard drive, so I'm gonna have to suffer for a while. But luckily, most of my important stuff, has been backed up online. I have a subscription with a service called Copy, and all of my game work has been backed up with SVN. So I haven't lost anything, anything major, anyways. I lost all of my Minecraft saves, so there's that. So, the complaints I had last week about my castle having a big chunk of dirt is stuck in the middle of it after recovering my save file, yeah, that doesn't matter anymore
I don't
because
even
I
have
don't
the
even
chunk
have
of
that world.
I don't even have the chunk of dirt, let alone the castle.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
that sucks.
yeah. So right now I'm just trying to install the things that I need on my computer so that I can get things done. I've been working off my work laptop, the laptop I borrow from work, so that I can work from home whenever. And yeah, so that's what I've been working on, getting the site up and running, and I got it up and running today. Yay! And so
Yay!
I've got a few other things that I need to finish with that. But now we
Yeah,
can
well,
actually
I'm,
post
I'm,
articles
yeah,
and all that stuff. So
yeah. It's we've got bare bones functionality right now.
yeah,
Uh, of course, my QA brain is looking at stuff. I'm like, okay, this entry field needs to be wider. This thing needs to take space out of it. So, but I'll
yeah,
tester you with that stuff later. Um,
yeah. We're gonna be changing the theme up. This week. This is just the default
skeleton, yeah.
2015 theme that comes with a WordPress install. Um, I like to explore themes and everything, and just between Andrew, James, and I, we'll figure out a theme that we like and get it going.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
but that's been my week. It's been crazy and frustrating, and I'm just ready to call it quits for the week.
yeah, I still have 55 episodes of Super Podcast Action Committee to create entries for on kngi.org, I think is where we're hosted now.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Kyle. Sorry for continually breaking your site. So I've been I think I've got 95 and 90 episodes 0 through 95 um, up on the site now, and I've had to email Kyle, the guy who administers the site, um, uh, like 4 or 5 times. And he keeps telling me that it's not my fault. It's just the site being funny. But I've run into he had to extend the size limit twice. I discovered some weird white page of death error, uh, and he had to track down some funky plugins that weren't being used anymore and remove them. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's one of those things where I kind of keep 3 different tabs open in a browser at work, and every time I have a minute, I'll do one entry, um, which unfortunately takes, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes per entry. Just because I have to find the original article on game politics, which at some points became difficult because we were offline for a while and I couldn't search anything.
Yeah.
Luckily, they are mirrored on ECA or the ECA forums or something like that. So I found a copy there.
Okay.
And SoundCloud. Why not SoundCloud? I think because it costs money. I think we did look at SoundCloud.
Yes, we did.
But for our purposes, it would have cost us money, and Kyle offered to host us for free. So we said yes, yes, please.
SoundCloud also had a length limit where
there is a free version. If I'm thinking of the right service, I believe SoundCloud has a. We would have to keep the shows under, I think, half an hour. If we did a weekly show, I think we'd have to keep them under half an hour. And I could make, I could do edited version. We could either keep it half an hour or I could edit them down. But we don't want to do that, which would have meant going for the more premium service, which costs money that we don't have. So, and I do apologize if I'm a little low on energy today, but I'm exhausted. So, which is why I'm speaking at the bottom of my range, because I have no energy to bring it up here. So I'm just kind of speaking in the back of my throat because I can't muster up the energy. So I did my video for last week. We spent an hour going over half of the tweets I received regarding my Huffington Post appearance, and I finally finished the video addressing the other half of the tweets, and it's about 14 or 15 minutes long. I went way overboard with how complicated it needed to be. I probably spent over 12 hours on that project. 6 of it was editing, but because there's a lot of cuts in it, and that just takes a ton of time. One of the I also took the liberty of transcribing all of my comments because I couldn't just, here's what I said, and then show all 7.5 minutes of what I said. So I used excerpts. I'm like, someone's gonna say I'm cherry picking. So I'm like, okay, I'll paste the transcription in the comments, which don't fit in the comments or the video description. So I put them on my blog and linked to it. But I also had to. HuffPost uses its own player. So I had no way of ripping the footage. So I had to use, I think I used OBS to record the entire show, which makes an FLV file, and I had to convert that to MP4, and without making the quality completely crummy. And I had to. Another one of the hard parts was organizing and archiving and copying all of the tweets I got, so I didn't lose them, and I could keep them straight as to who said what tweet. And I had to screenshot all of them and make sure I knew where they all were. And, oh man, and there's music. I sing in part of it. I didn't have to, but I decided to anyway because why not? So yeah, it was a big project, but I think it turned out well, and people seem to have enjoyed it so far. And if I haven't looked at the comments today because I've been working or playing video games, so if you're asking me questions about uh, stuff, I'll get to you later because I'm not bothering with social media today. Matthew says OBS has a setting to record MP4s. Oh, well, I'll check that out. That would save me a step. I mean, it's not that big a deal. I have a converter, but anyway, so first topic. Oh, and I lied. We're not going to talk about bacon Pop-Tarts. I don't know if that's even a thing. That's how my brain works. So Jimmy Kimmel. He has a show that I don't watch, so I imagine it's a talk show of some sort.
Yeah, it's.
Do you watch his show?
I don't watch his show, but he's got one of the late night shows. You know, I forget what show he's on. You know, this probably says, well, Jimmy Kimmel Live, I guess. What it is, but yeah, it's just one of those late night talk shows.
So Mr. Kimmel last week or the week before at some point commented on the phenomenon known as Let's Plays, and he thought the idea of a Let's Play was pretty silly. For those of you who don't know, and if you're watching this show, you probably do, but in case mom is watching, well, even my mom knows what a Let's Play is. But essentially, I record myself playing a video game, upload it to YouTube, and then you can watch me playing a video game. That's a Let's Play. So Kimmel poked fun at that idea and made a little sketch where now you can, a new YouTube service or something where you can watch people watching others play video games. So instead of a Let's Play, it's a Let's Watch a Let's Play. So you can say, oh my gosh, this person playing a video game is rad. And you're watching that. And then, of course, it scoots back another, and you can watch someone watching someone watch a Let's Play, and then it goes further than that, and it's God watching someone watch someone watch someone watch someone playing a video game. There were some in our gaming community who didn't think that was very funny.
That's because these people have thin skins.
And they told Mr. Kimmel so in some of the most poorly spelled and punctuated messages that you could ever hope to see. And called for his head and wished cancer upon him and AIDS and gonorrhea and a stubbed toe. So essentially, some of our gaming brethren did the horrible people on social media thing and attacked him for attacking them or something. I don't know. I watched the sketch. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I did too.
It's obvious that Kimmel doesn't get it. And that's okay. It really is. I mean, there are a lot of people who work for ESPN who don't get esports. But you have your Colin Cowherds who are, I'll put a gun in my mouth if you make me watch esports or something along those lines. And then you have other people whose names I don't remember, and I feel bad about that, who watched League of Legends or some esports thing and said, you know what, I have no idea what the hell is going on, but I recognize the excitement and the passion. This is pretty cool. I don't know what the
Yeah.
hell it is. I may not be interested in it, but hey, they're having fun. It's great. And I think it's the same thing with Kimmel too. He
Yeah.
saw something that struck him as silly and made fun of it. And you know what? While I do occasionally watch Let's Plays, um, I don't think I've ever made one. I guess unless you count that Postal 2, a pacifist game video I did. I guess that's
Yeah.
technically a Let's Play. Um,
Well, you also have that Zack and Wiki uh, video that you
well,
had
you
uploaded.
know, I do the Extra Life charity event every year, which I'm doing again this year. So my page is up at extralife.org/participant/Andrew Eisen if you want to make an early donation. So I suppose I do that. I stream games on Twitch and other people can watch, and that's for charity.
Mhm.
Uh, there is something inherently funny about entertaining yourself by watching other people have fun. You know, when you watch sports, when you watch a basketball game or a football game, uh, you are watching people play a game that you could play yourself, but
Mhm.
you'd have to find a field, you'd have to find the equipment, you'd have to find enough people to play it. But
Yeah.
you're another way to look at it is you're watching people compete at a level that you will never be at. You will never play in the NFL. So it's fun to watch other people who do. And video games are not quite like that in that exact regard. You watch someone playing a video game and you could do the exact same thing unless you're broke and can't afford the game, or you don't have the platform that that game appears on, or you just
Mhm.
really, really suck at Smash Brothers or whatever game you're watching. It's like, I love watching Let's Plays of Smash Brothers because I suck at Smash Brothers. Um, so my initial thought when I saw Kimmel's sketch and the subsequent messages that he received, and I have to assume that he received got some nice messages too, but they weren't funny, so he didn't talk about them. Um, my first thought was, well, we are all gamers and we are all ridiculously passionate about what we do. Let's explain to Jimmy Kimmel why Let's Plays are so much damn fun. Let's show him why we're so passionate about this. Why, all the great and good things.
Mhm.
And to Markiplier and MissesMae, I think is her name.
And
Um,
yeah, Mrs. May.
MissesMae, yes. That's exactly what they attempted to do. I don't know who reached out to who, but some others of us said, you know what, instead of talking to Kimmel and explaining why this is such a neat thing, let's wish AIDS upon him and his dog. That, uh, I'm trying to get into the headspace of people who do that and trying to figure out what exactly they hope to accomplish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
What
no
is the
idea.
reaction? Do you expect Kimmel to go, well, now I'm interested? I mean, it may have been driven by the fact that this was a big popular story that was getting a lot of attention, but I couldn't have faulted the man for saying, screw gaming. I'm not, this is not worth my time.
Yeah.
But, he addressed it and stuck with it, and a lot of that was probably just ratings, to be fair. But
Yeah.
um, I thought the little segment with Markiplier and MissesMae was not very funny. I thought that could have been done better. I thought, of course, who knows what the entire segment looked like. It was only 6 or 7 minutes long. But
Mhm.
MissesMae showed footage of her parents playing the Oculus Rift and how much fun it is watching her parents freak out. That's a good start. And then they're like,
Mhm.
let's play video games together. I'm like, no. He understands playing a video game. What he doesn't understand is the why anyone would want to watch anyone else play a video game. So I
Yeah.
think they kind of dropped the ball there.
I don't
But
know. I think when it comes to watching somebody play a video game, I just my go to my go-to example of this is just my wife and I. Back when I was in college, and and we were still young and married and all that good stuff, and we're still married, by the way. But we were still young and didn't have a whole lot of money, and so we would rent video games. But a lot of times it was just we would rent games, and I would play them, and my wife would watch. And so we would rent things like RPGs, Ark the Lad, Twilight of Spirit, or whatever it was back on the PS2, Final Fantasy X2, a bunch of other games. We would rent them, and I would play them, and she would watch, and she would watch it like she would watch a TV show, where she was there for the story, for the cutscenes and all that stuff, and and that works for us. We still do a little bit of that today, but not too much, because we have plenty of TV now to watch.
But watching other people play video games is, if you're broke and you can't afford any more video games, then the big AAA titles cost $60. So
yes.
Even though you have your internets and you have your TV and you have your consoles, sometimes you don't have $60. So it's great to see. Sometimes you can watch people play early releases of games. Sometimes you can watch people play games that are on a platform that you don't own. Sometimes you can watch people play games in a way that you don't normally play it, like speedrunners. Sometimes you watch people just because they're so damn good at what they do. Some Let's Players, people watch to watch the Let's Player. They're not watching for the game. They're watching it for the personality, because whatever they do is just so damn entertaining. There's a lot of reasons to watch,
definitely.
other people play video games.
And another reason that you didn't mention was that you watch Let's Plays to get to the endings that you don't have the patience to get to. It's like you've already played, So you played through a video game and you got to the end, but it's only like one of 5 possible endings. It's like you don't want to play the game 5 times in order to get the ending, so you just go on YouTube and watch the other endings.
Here's another thing that I've used a Let's Play. I watched I think Chugga Conroy's Let's Play of the first third of Xenoblade Chronicles, because I took like a 2-year hiatus from that game. So I watched the opening third of his Let's Play to refresh my memory on what was going on in Xenoblade Chronicles, so I didn't have to start over again, because I was 30 hours into the adventure. So I want to read a comment that we had from...
you watched a 30-hour Let's Play?
No, it wasn't quite that long, but it was probably about 15 hours worth of Let's Play. Because he didn't put the grinding on screen. So it was more of a Xenoblade, the abridged version. So I refreshed my memory on who the characters were and what the settings were and what I had done up to that point without having to play it myself. So over on our Facebook page, on one of the Jimmy Kimmels, Ian Smith, one of our readers, has a very nice comment. I'm going to read part of it because it's too long. Regarding all the mean things that some people said to Jimmy Kimmel, Ian says, I told my friend that I blame Jack Thompson and others like him for this, as well as coverage by the mainstream media to a lesser extent. He may not have gotten video games banned like he wanted, but what he did was equally toxic. He fought with and insulted gamers so much that it has given them a pathological victim persecution complex. As a result, they are constantly on a war footing, ready to circle the wagons and lash out at anyone who dares speak critically of their hobby, even if it's constructive or in jest. And there's a lot more before and after that comment. But I thought it was a really interesting comment, and I think there's some truth to that. I think a lot of gamers were so used to having an actual villain that when we won, we had no villain anymore. I mean, Jack Thompson was disbarred in 2008. In 2009, he pretty much dropped off the face of the internet. He tried suing Facebook. That didn't work, and he went bye-bye. In 2011, The Supreme Court ruled that video games are protected speech. Video games are art. We won.
Hmm.
Uh, Video games are mainstream. They are an accepted form of mainstream entertainment, and we had nothing to fight about. There's no villain anymore. So I think that has contributed to a lot of the hostility that some direct towards anyone who is even remotely critical of anything. Uh, because we don't have anyone trying to ban games or do anything like that. If someone says, you know what? This game might be better if you did this. It's like, no, don't you touch my game. You're trying to censor stuff. And it's like, chill the hell out. It's art. I'm critiquing it. I'm an art critic. I critique art. That's what I do. You won. Video games are art. Now all the culture critics are going to start looking at them and criticizing. I think we should welcome that stuff. Even
Yes,
the stupid criticisms. I'm a content producer. I make stupid videos on YouTube, and I get a lot of feedback, a lot of opinions, a lot of compliments, a lot of critiques. I get a lot of people telling me, or suggesting rather, how I should do my job, so to speak, how I should make videos. I welcome all of that, even the stupid stuff, even the really dumb suggestions, because as a content creator, I don't have to listen to any of it. I can listen to all of it, take what I agree with, and incorporate that in my work. And, you know, sometimes I might find that the people who I thought had stupid ideas were right all along. So I don't think that I've heard some people suggest that some forms of criticism are dangerous or a slippery slope of some sort. Which I guess if the content creator is just this namby-pamby pushover who's like, okay, I'll make any game or video or whatever you want, just don't yell at me. They're probably not a very good creator in the first place.
No, they're not.
So,
because how do you respond when you have two equally loud groups yelling at you to do completely opposite things? Yeah.
You listen to both, you evaluate it, and make a decision for yourself on how you want to proceed.
But if you're a pushover and you're just going to give in to pressure, it's like, how are you going to respond to equal pressure from opposite sides? I guess you'll just explode and blow up the internet.
Someone in our chat whose name I can't read because it's an awful green color. Let me highlight it, see if that helps. Proto Man Dan says, honestly, for most people, bullies in school were the villains to gamers. A lot of kids who were bullied in school for playing video games probably became very defensive of their hobby after being insulted for liking it. There's probably an element of that too, because as I've seen suggested and shown many, many times, bullies a lot of times will grow up to be bullies, like abused people will grow up to be abusers. So, man, if we could get this bullying stuff licked, no one would be a bully anymore. That would be nice. And then we'd all get along and play games. That would be cool.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you that gamers have well, I wouldn't say all gamers, but a subset of gamers have been conditioned to respond in an extreme manner to anything that they perceive as a threat to
we were gaming was under attack for a long time.
It was. When you have congressional hearings about video games, it's under attack. And it's like the last time Congress even looked at video games was around the Sandy Hook shooting, and the only thing they were doing was they said, okay, we need to decide if we want to have the CDC study video game violence, and that's as far as they went. It's like they're going to study video game violence, okay, but just as long as you aren't recommending banning video games or regulating video games, I'm fine with that. But even something that slight, some gamers can respond disproportionately.
Yeah, and hey, the Supreme Court ruling was a lot closer than it really should have been. That could have gone another way. We could still be fighting this, but
Well,
I really wish that
it was
I'm
7 to
working on a
2,
yeah
with
I'm
5 signed on to the official ruling. So,
mhm, yeah
and the other 2 were in agreement, just in a different way. So,
yeah so but it still should have been 9-0.
yeah. Well, there's a
People
lot of rulings that should have been 9-0
yeah
that aren't.
so um I'm making a video. I'm working on a video that talks about this a little bit, but I think we're really missing the opportunity for the more fun conversations, and instead we just end up yelling at each other. I
Mhm.
think we end up having the arguments of this is the way it is or the way it's always been and it works, leave it the hell alone. And you have other people saying, well, the way you do it from this perspective has this meaning, which is probably not something you were intending. And it's like, well, we have to do it this way because processing power and things like that. And you end up just yelling at each other. I think if these two people got together and sat down and said, okay, well, how do we incorporate this viewpoint, if it's a viewpoint you want to incorporate, in a way that works, in a way that doesn't damage what we've done
Mhm.
before? I'm not articulating this well at all, which is why I'm scripting it for video. But I think yeah, I had an example and then I completely lost it. So, but I don't like fighting. I like finding solutions. Well, as a QA person, I'm a problem solver. I see something that doesn't work, or I see two pieces that don't fit together, and I say, okay, what can we do to make these two pieces fit together that's not going to damage either piece? That's where the fun is. That's where the interesting conversations come in, I think, anyway. Although
Yeah.
sniping at each other and being putzes online can be fun. I'm not saying everyone has to be lovey-dovey. I'm not saying you can't snark. I love snark. If you watch my YouTube videos, you probably know this. Um, but I think we can do without being nasty to each other, and I see more of that than I would like. I don't want to see any of that, but
Yeah.
okay. So let us move on to a new topic, and this new
All
topic
right.
is sex. Sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. So, Steam, according to a article that ran on Kotaku last week, Steam is getting an uncensored sex game called Kindred Spirits about.
Well, Kindred Spirits on the Roof, I
Oh, is
think,
it
is
on
the
the?
full
Oh,
title.
yes, Kindred Spirits on the Roof. Up on
Uh,
the roof. Okay, from what I can tell, this is a visual novel. Um, in other words, the game is kind of a choose your own, an illustrated choose your own adventure book. If you've never played one of these, you have a static screen of characters, and the dialogue plays. And occasionally, you say, "Should you tell this person to piss off? Should you give them a cake? Should you run screaming?" And then it branches into the story, and you get a new screen. And for the adult versions, the idea is to sex up all the available ladies or guys or donkeys or pigeons. There is a game with pigeons. Um, I don't think it's X-rated. I haven't played it, but
I haven't played a game with pigeons either, so I
well,
don't
it's
know.
called Hotoful Boyfriend or something like that. Someone in the chat will remind me. Uh,
I'm sure they
anyway,
will.
Spirits on the Roof is as far as I can tell, a visual novel about two um, dead kids, two spirits who I guess are sitting on the school roof, and they are in love, but they're dead, and they can't move on. They can't move on to the afterlife until they have sex, which is difficult when you're a ghost. So, um, let me read this. So, one died in an accident before the war, and the other died of an illness 30 years ago. The two kindred spirits died with unrequited feelings in their hearts, met and fell in love. They ardently wish to experience their, in quotes, first time together before their eternal rest. But they don't know how. I don't know if that means that they don't know how because they're incorporeal, because they're spirits and they don't know how they can physically do it because they're ghosts, or if they genuinely, high school kids, do not understand the mechanics of sex, which I don't buy for a damn minute. So what they have to do is they have to play matchmaker and get all the other students in the school to pork so that they can, I guess, take notes and figure out how to do it themselves. Here's the interesting thing. I have no idea how explicit this game is supposed to be. They're saying it's uncensored, but that doesn't mean anything if the game is not explicit. And looking at the screenshots and art that they've shown so far, well, the character designs are not the overly busty, broken anatomy type characters that you usually see in games like this, I would assume. I haven't seen many. They look like, well, here, chat. Take a look. Totally safe for work if you happen to be at work on a Saturday and a holiday weekend. If you go to mangagamer.org/kindred spirits, you'll see a couple screenshots and some banner art, and you're going to look at that and go, this is a porn game? Really? Maybe it is. I really have no idea. Maybe we'll do a feature on game politics where we play the game just to see what it's like, just to just to sate our curiosity.
Yeah.
Brad heard it's just topless nudity, which in that case, nudity is okay on Steam. There are games with nudity. So I'm wondering if they're doing the kind of how Hatred was like, let's sell it on controversy. I think Kindred Spirits is kind of taking a page from that book. It's like, well, it's a sex game. It's a completely uncensored sex game. Well, that may be true, but if there's nothing to censor in the first place, that's a little disingenuous. I'm going to have to explore your sex game and make sure you're on the up and up. Let me see if I can get James to buy me a copy. James, buy me a copy of a sex game. Come on, man. For journalism.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think I need a copy.
Maybe start a GoFundMe.
That'll be an interesting GoFundMe there. I'm telling you what.
So, now, as far as adult games on Steam, it's within Steam. It's their platform; they can do whatever the hell they want. But I think as long as it's clearly, because a lot of people are really sensitive about this type of content, as long as it's clearly labeled as such, personally, I'm totally fine with this kind of content being available on digital download services. They may want to, if they want to age gate it, which is stupid because that doesn't do a damn thing. You do need a credit card to buy any of these things anyway. So I think you need to be 18 to even have a Steam account, don't you?
I don't know, because I just put in January 1st and then scrolled down and hit a year that they let me. Maybe you have to be 18. I don't know, because how many people do we know out there that put their real birthday into Steam or any other website that requires an age gate?
Okay, Brad suggests that one of us review Kindred Spirits and the other reviews the Pigeon Love game.
I'll let you handle both of those, Andrew.
I hear the pigeon game is very tasteful. No, Matthew says, no, you don't. I must be thinking of a different service, because I know there's one that does. I know. Laxter says that would limit a ton of their audience if they did. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, no, that can't be right, because there's way too many people on for that to be the case.
And Matthew says that it's 13, and I think that's part of the CAPA regulations, is that any service no web services can collect personally identifying information from anybody under 13 years old.
Well, I
So
mean, I think what is going to be the major deciding factor for Steam in the future is how popular adult games get. There was Honey Pop is a made some very made some waves earlier
yeah.
this year, I think, and it's a adult puzzle game. So the better you are at a kind of a Tetris-y match 3 block game, the more inclined the ladies of the game are to step out of their clothing and say ribald things. Um, some of the art in that game is obnoxious. I mean, it's not bad art, but some of the design is really weird. My favorite characters, I think I've mentioned this before, but there's a character in that game who um, has her arm permanently jammed under her bust. I, like she needs to hold the girls up, otherwise they'll fall to the ground. I don't.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask some of my lady friends and say, is this a position that any woman would ever stand in? It's like, get a bra, woman, for crying out loud. Okay,
Yeah.
so coming to a Steam near you, horny ghosts who make the rest of the students have sex so that they can take notes. That sounds like a great idea for a game. So, moving on. Oh, this is a good one. So, there's an educational series of games called Playing History, and these are games that were legitimately built for the classroom to walk students through history. And there's one that focuses on the plague. Not sure which plague, but a plague. There's one that focuses on slave trade and one that focuses on Vikings. Now, I went to the site and I watched the trailer, and I thought I had that in a tab. Here we are. So I'll link this in the shout box too, because it's kind of funny. Here you go, kids. Um, and the trailer is for all the games. And while something that rustled a few feathers is in the slave trade one, there's a mini game in which for when back in the day of the slave trade, when they packed a bunch of slaves onto a ship, they literally packed them in like sardines, and a lot of people died because of that, which seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
You want all of them alive, but they
When you treat people like cattle,
exactly. Well, it's weird because you'd want the cattle to be alive too. They treated people like not people, and they just jammed as many in as they could and sent them sailing off the sea, and hopefully some of them survived. Maybe they got paid up front, I don't know. So the game represents this issue by playing kind of a game of Tetris with these slaves, and a lot of people took issue at that. Now, I didn't see a scene of that, but I did see, I think it's from the Plague, where they'd take, bring out your dad, where they get all the bodies and then dump them in a big pit. There's a kind of a Tetris where you have these cloth wrapped bodies that are all twisted in different areas falling into a pit, and you line them up in Tetris-like combinations, I guess, to get rid of them. And so this whole series actually comes with a curriculum too. So it does seem to be genuinely serious about the education aspect of it. I wish the trailer was a little bit better so I could get a better look at it. Any initial thoughts on this story, Zachary?
Well, I saw a bit of it, earlier this week, and hard drive crashes and all that stuff. I would have liked to have played the game just to see what it was like. But one of the things that got a lot of criticism was the overall kind of cheery aspect of the background and everything. You've got this for some reason you've got a dragon behind the ship that you're filling with slaves, and you've got this little cowboy looking guy and stuff, and it's just kind of weird a weird juxtaposition of the art styles, wherein you've got these contorted bodies that you're trying to shove into this ship hull, and then these bright and cheery background behind it. And so I don't know. To me, it just seems kind of strange just how they try to design the game. Personally, I don't think it's that terrible of a thing. It's just it's an abstract way of showing people just how slaves are treated. They were treated as objects, and with you just like you would shove as many boxes as you can possibly get in the back of a UPS truck. They shoved as many people or as many slaves as they could get into these ships, and and that was how they maximize their revenue. You get as many people in as you can, and hopefully not so many of them die, and then you can make a hefty profit. Whereas if you tried to put them in humane conditions, if you can be humane while still having slavery, I don't know, then your profit margins are a lot thinner, because you're putting fewer people into the ships for each run. Yeah. And so this is a very abstract way of looking at that problem with slavery, and I think on it, it's on its own. I think it works to kind of get that point across. I just think a lot of people freaked out about it and overreacted, but
you think any of the people who freaked out about it had actually played the game, or just heard that there was a slave stacking Tetris mini game?
Probably not. That seems to be how things are. People react before they actually play it or watch it or whatever.
Proto Man Dan asks, what age demographic is this targeted at? 11 to 14-year-olds, so school children. Said a statement posted to the game's Steam page said, apologies to people who were. I should say that that particular mini game was excised from the Playing History slave trade game. And the statement reads, apologies to people who were offended by us using game mechanics to underline the point of how inhumane slavery was. The goal was to enlighten and educate people, not to get sidetracked discussing a small 15-second part of the game. So this actually leads to what I was trying to articulate a few minutes ago about people just yelling at each other instead of working to get. I think the idea, this person is not being disingenuous when he or she says the goal was to enlighten and educate people about how inhumane slavery was. Now, maybe the people who are complaining have a really great point and say that that's great, but the way you're doing it is really ugly. Instead of yelling at each other and just removing that section of the game, maybe let's sit down, talk, and work together and find a way to communicate the exact same thing that they were trying to communicate in the first place through gameplay mechanics, while being non-offensive or as delicate as possible.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of conversations.
Yeah, see, there's a few years back, Brenda Romero, I believe,
there is a Brenda Romero, yes.
Yeah. Well, Brenda Romero. She created a tabletop game called Train, and this was critics loved it. People thought it was a great idea, and the object of the game was to get your little train car from one end of the track to the other end over the course of several turns, and you also got extra points by filling your car, and so every turn you had the choice of putting some objects into the car or moving your car forward, and so it's kind of you have to decide, do I want to move forward, or do I want to get the extra points at the end of the game by having more things in there. And then it's like as the game goes on and you're flipping through the storybook or whatever it was, you realize that this game is actually depicting the Holocaust and how the Germans would just shove as many Jews and other unlikables into train cars and ship them off to concentration camps, where they worked to death or were gassed, or burned or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the game itself, got you thinking about that. And, it's just, and, somebody who didn't know what the game was going into it would just halfway through the game just suddenly realize just how crappy they've been, because they've been shoving people into their train cars every turn to get those extra points and stuff. And it was just, it got people thinking. And, so I've seen a lot of people comparing, Train to this one. And whereas, Train was more abstract in the beginning of it, and this game was just upfront and blunt with it, you're a slaver and you're filling your ship with slaves, and that's how I was doing. And I personally don't see a problem with either approach,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just how the designer wants to do it, and so it just all depends on the execution, I guess, and perhaps this guy just didn't get the execution
I
down
like
right.
it when games subvert your expectations and actually use the game mechanics to make a point or get you thinking about something in a way you'd never otherwise considered. One of the Spec Ops: The Line I've not played, but I hear that's really good at uh, turning your actions and what you know about shooters around on you and painting it in a different light that you may not have considered before. One of the early examples I can think of is, was it Chrono Trigger? One of those, where you go on trial very early in the game, and they accuse you of doing all the stuff that you've always been conditioned to do in video games, like walk into people's homes and pick up
And
anything
go
that's
through their
not nailed
dressers
down.
and
Yeah, exactly. There's a ham sandwich lying on the floor and you pick it up and then some guy yells at you, "This guy stole my lunch." I put down a bologna sandwich, I turn around and this guy just picks it up and eats it. Who does that? Who?
yeah.
That's one of the earliest examples. And you're playing the game and you're not thinking about stealing. That's not what you were doing. You're not thinking about stealing or breaking and entering. There's a door, you go in the door. Oh, a dresser. I open the drawer. Hey, gold. I take, because I'm the hero, the chosen one. But it's always interesting when games recontextualize your in-game actions in a way that reflects the real world. And you really only need to do that once at the beginning of the game, because then for the rest of the game, you're like, should I pick this up? It doesn't belong to me. Someone might miss it.
Yeah.
So should I really walk into this person's house? One of the things very quick tangent. There's a game, Rune Factory Frontier. I think I've got the right game. One of the things I really like about the game is you can walk into anyone's house, but your character actually knocks first. I think Animal Crossing does the same thing. It's just, you're going in anyway, but it's just a nice touch that he at least has the courtesy to knock before he barges into your house.
Yeah.
And the chat is confirming that, yes, that was Chrono Trigger with the trial and the stolen sandwich at the very beginning. So, Jamie, for remembering that.
But Proto Man Dan, he says that going back to the slavery game, and he says that part of the problem was, or a big part of the problem was probably that the game was targeted at children, and to be honest, I don't think that's a problem. We tend to coddle children these days. Wrap them in bubble wrap and protect them from the evils of the world, and then they don't get exposed to a lot of things like they should. And learning about history should not be the kid gloves type of experience. We need to talk about what really happened in history, and and if it takes a game like this to contextualize, you know, how bad slavery was. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah. So you're
'Cause,
saying we should expose kids to the plague, which is the name of one of these games.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree, but that is probably one of the things that I did not. I came into this story at the point where, well, we took this mini game out because people were complaining about it. I don't know what the complaints were. I'm just basing what I imagine. I imagine what they were, and I base that on what the complaints have been on these types of things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually completely divorced of any context. It's like, oh, you're teaching our children the best way to stack slaves in a ship. That's no good. No, that's not what we're attempting to do at all. So yeah, man, people get offended. Some people get offended easily, and it seems so needless. I wonder how many of the people who complained about this, if they, assuming that they didn't, if they took a few minutes and actually looked at the game and what it was and what it was attempting to do, if they would still be outraged by it, or if they'd be, well, yeah, maybe there's a better way to do this, but I see what they're doing, and I am not as
Well,
outraged.
and there is a subset of the populace that once they have made their once they've made their decision, you know, that's it. They're not going to change their mind no matter how many facts you throw their way. Because they have their opinion, they have their truth, and they're not going to change.
That's another
So,
thing I see, especially online, is people being completely resistant to being wrong, or and you've seen this in politics for years. Oh, there's a flip flopper. I don't have a problem with someone changing their mind on a particular topic, especially if they were wrong in the first place and they have flip flopped to the correct thing.
well,
Slavery
and
is
even
good,
then,
and then they say slavery is bad. Well, that's a flip flop I can get behind. Are we really
well,
going to?
that's one of those terms too
Bad
that
example.
people have abused so much that it's kind of lost its original meaning. Because when someone actually is a flip flopper, there's somebody that goes back and forth between something based on public opinion. Where it's like, what's going to get me elected this year? That's what I'm going to say. And then next year, it's like, oh, well, things have changed. Well, let me say it this way. And then the next election, oh, things have changed. Now I can say what I said 4 years ago, or whatever. They go back and forth based on the whims of the public. And it's not, but so if somebody's changing their mind because they've learned new facts and they have taken a new position on things, and that's the position they're going to be taking in the future until new facts arise, if that's possible in some cases, then I don't consider that flip-flopping. I consider that somebody being educated.
Yeah, I learned I learned a new thing a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I've learned nothing since then, but a few weeks ago I learned something, and someone berated me for not knowing it in the first place. Which, okay,
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
yeah, it's really not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too nice. Although
Maybe.
maybe people don't think I'm nice. I don't look or sound nice, but I I don't know. We have another topic, but it's a couple minutes past the hour, and I'm on call. I have someone covering for me, so we're gonna cut the podcast here. Hey, look, an episode that almost kept to an hour this time. That's nice, right?
That is
So,
awesome.
thank you everyone for watching, and hope you stick with us in game politics as we get our site back and up
Yep.
and running. It's going to be skeleton and bare bones for a bit, but we're still finding all the proper plugins and trying to figure out where to put things, and trying to figure other important things out. So thank you for your patience, and I Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you.
So, and thanks Zachary for moving the site and not
Oh,
breaking
you're
anything,
welcome.
even though he lost his hard drive.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
that's sad.
there was a panic-inducing moment earlier today where I thought we may have lost James's user account. I'm like, oh no, is
Yeah,
that the one thing we didn't bring over? Uh, but it was I couldn't see it because of permissions, so I was
yeah.
like, oh, good. So okay,
All right.
let us plug our stuff and get out of here. Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Oh God, I need a nap. YouTube. I do YouTube videos. I just did a fun video responding to some of the comments I received on my Huffington Post appearance from last week. I even sing a little bit of barbershop in the middle for no good damn reason. So check it out. Twitter at Andrew Eisen, Facebook Andrew Eisen, YouTube. And if you go to extra-life.org/participant/Andrew Eisen, or just go to Extra Life and search for Andrew Eisen, my page for the 2015 charity marathon event is up. You can make a donation now if you're so inclined. I think that's November 7th. So I'll be starting at noon Pacific Standard Time on Saturday, November 7th, playing games for 24 hours straight to raise money for Rady Children's Hospital. I'm planning on also doing a couple Wednesday night streams in October leading up to that. So keep an eye on my social media stuffs and I'll let you know what I'm doing. So Zachary, take it away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, and you can also check out my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And you can check out the Oklahoma game development scene, OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com. And if you're interested in not so serious stuff, check out RustyOutlook.com and Rusty Outlook on Twitter.
All
So
right.
there you go.
Oh, Laxter has an interesting idea with colorful. Yes, I'm wearing different colored shirts in the musical segment of the video, but that gives me an idea. Maybe as a incentive for donating to the Children's Miracle Hospitals, if I raise, say, $1,000, I'll wear a colored shirt. How's that sound?
There we go.
I'll wear a pretty blue shirt for 24 hours straight for charity. So, okay. Thank you everyone for watching. You've been watching Super Podcast Action Committee. Follow us on Twitter at SuperPack Podcast. Send us email, superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. We are working on getting back onto iTunes and setting up an RSS feed. That should be coming within, I think, 2 weeks. I hope. I really, really hope. Don't hold me to that, but I'm hoping. So we will see you next week. Take care.
All right, see ya.